The Eagles' wins keep coming as more bad news for other NFC teams start to pile up. Plus, we got a very surprising update from Brandon Graham himself this morning about a possible Super Bowl return, Kellen Moore's latest change on offense that absolutely torched the Steelers, and what Howie Roseman's been doing behind the scenes to keep the birds rolling. I'm Thomas Mott. This is the Thomas Mott Show. Now, there's a lot that happened on Sunday for Philadelphia that Eagle fans can be excited about, like not only looking good on offense and defense versus a 10-win Steelers team, keeping pace for that number 1 overall seed, but good news also happened at the same time as Detroit lost a shootout versus the Bills to create a much more likely path for that first-round bye for the Birds. And as we stand today, Philadelphia has the 3rd easiest remaining schedule versus Detroit, who has the 5th hardest, and the Minnesota Vikings, 12 wins right now, but the 2nd hardest, including a Week 18 matchup between division rivals in the Vikings and Lions. Now, Philadelphia will need some help. They have to win out and get one more loss from both Detroit and the Vikings in order to secure the number 1 seed, but if they do, then the entire NFC playoffs run through the link. Now, if all that good doesn't happen for Philadelphia, it's very likely this weekend's road matchup versus the Commanders will end up being an Act 2 of a trilogy versus Washington, as the Commanders are all but a collapse away from the 7th seed, which would be a 2-seeded Eagles opening round matchup. Win that wildcard matchup, and the Birds' divisional round opponent, also in Philadelphia, is likely the highest winning remaining seed, which I think would be the Rams or the Vikings. Still, when talking about the playoffs, it is worth mentioning the news out of Detroit yesterday, as the Lions did not just lose the game and star running back David Montgomery to an MCL injury, but they also lost Aleem McNeil, Carlton Davis, and Khalil Dorsey, all to season-ending injuries in the same game. That brings the list of Lions defensive injuries just this season to an insane 11 players, including Adrian Hutchinson, Malcolm Rodriguez, and Ifeatu Melifonwu. And while none of us should wish injuries on opposing teams, even if it does benefit Philadelphia, this is still news, and again, it does make the Eagles' path to the 1 seed technically a little bit easier. I mean, Detroit's defense is already reeling from these injuries. They just gave up 48 points to the Bills. There's a real chance that they further collapse going forward just due to the amount of star players out, and if that's the case, it is worth noting now, Minnesota might end up being the greater threat to Philadelphia than Detroit. Here's what y'all's thoughts are on that. Now, we also hit 70,000 subs on the channel yesterday. A massive thank you to everybody. Cannot believe we're there, and that means we're going to be giving away the signed Cooper DeJean helmet to 1 subscriber on the Wednesday show, which is going to be our Wednesday live show around 2 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow. Don't be present to win. We're going to go ahead and draw the winner for that one, so of course, drop a like, go ahead and be subscribed, and if you want some extra luck, go to Monday's recap show and drop a comment. Speaking of injuries, remember how Brandon Graham tore his tricep against the Rams a couple of weeks ago, and it was immediately announced he was officially done for the year? Well, apparently that might not be the case, at least according to BG himself this morning on WIP.
Any chance of you being back if the team reaches the Super Bowl? Like in your early weeks of rehabbing, is it possible or is it off the table?
Man, anything is possible. So that's how I'm gonna feel. That's how I'm gonna feel it in. But just know we working, trying to see what happens. We got to get there.
Now, I'm not a doctor, but I can Google search, and that reveals a surgically repaired tricep, which BG did have. He did have surgery on it, takes 6 or more months to repair. That tear happened on November 25th, so unless my math is really off, the Super Bowl is 76 days away from that injury, or 2.5 months. So unless BG is just talking to talk, or maybe the tear was not as bad as we thought, this seems like a massive stretch. Still, though, no clue what happens, we'll see, but a BG Super Bowl return would feed families if possible. Honestly, a more likely return is going to be Bryce Huff, who we all kind of forgot went on IR with a wrist procedure back in Week 12 and is technically eligible to return. Now, whether that happens this week or next week or the playoffs, I don't know, but I do know the guy who's been kind of in place of both BG and Huff has been Nolan Smith, and he's been on an absolute tear this year, getting his 5th sack this past week versus Russell Wilson. You are not going to bench Nolan Smith even if Huff or even BG were to return at any point this year, but having them behind him, rotational aspect with this pass rush, it's not a bad thing. Also, clearly not a bad thing as well is the whole Jalen Carter sideline nonsense from Sunday, which Nick Sirianni further explained in really good detail during his Monday morning press conference.
Yeah, sure. We correct everything. I was, as Jalen was coming off the field, I was kind of getting after him there. And, I think that there was part of me that wanted to go back, and really, so I kind of made my point as Jalen was coming off the field. And then I went back, and what Clint was saying is like, Coach, I got it. I got it. I've already handled it. And the knowing, and so I had said something to him, Clint had said something to him, and it wasn't, knowing Clint and how he's coached him for the past, half a year that he's been here, I knew he had it. And so then, I kind of went away. And as you can see, Jalen came back over to me and, and we had a moment there after the fact.
Now, technically, there is a fear that Carter could be suspended, maybe for a game, due to the punch you see on your screen, which honestly would be bad. So I'm not upset in the slightest that Sirianni wanted to give him a strong talking to after the boneheaded play, because as Dan Orlovsky pointed out this morning, 98 has become an absolute game record this season for the Birds, and we're going to need him down the stretch.
Okay, why Jalen Carter's impact is so much greater than numbers so often, okay? I have a 6-man protection as an offense. I have my 5 offensive linemen, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in my back. Philadelphia is only rushing 4, and they never even presented a different picture, okay? They're just rushing 4. My back has to have a responsibility for anybody that can be an off-the-ball rusher. So his rule, check these guys and then get a chip, okay? And then everybody else's rule is 5 on 4. Okay, so there's that chip right there, all right? Now, this is why Philadelphia, look at the wide 3s in these situations. We almost would call these like 4 eyes almost. This would be a shade. This would be a 2. This would be a 3 on his outside shoulder. This is almost like a 4 eye, okay? Wide. Why do they get wide? Number 1, where's 98? We're turning to 98 in a 4-man rush. We're turning to 98, meaning 1, 2, 3 have 1, 2. Okay, you 3 have him. The second thing is now I've expanded these guys. You have him, you have him. So I've created 2 one-on-ones and I've expanded them. Okay, expanded them. Now look how much the attention that's gathered, the chaos. So I have 4 blocking 2 almost. Boom. One's got to win. There he does. There he does. There he does. Second quarter, 56 seconds. There's so much that goes into trying to block elite interior rushers, man. Okay, look at it again. There's that wide, right? There's the wide. 98 and Nolan Smith together. What do they do this time? They try to double team him. They try to push to him, right? Try to push to him. There's one-on-one again. Someone's got to win. This time, where's the back go? Hey, back go inside. Inside. See if we can get a little inside presence to try to attract 98. No chip. Night-night.
Another game-wrecking change, especially noticed versus the Steelers on offense, was the Birds' use of empty formations. Philadelphia went empty 9 times on Sunday and netted 116 yards from that formation. Maybe they found something during their film study this past week that helped kickstart the offense, especially in that first quarter, or they've just been holding it out until later in the season, but I expect a ton more empty going forward for the Birds' offense.
Every game plan and everything kind of goes into that. I mean, every game plan is a little bit different in how you want to attack and how teams come out in empty and the things that they do in empty. We're able to do multiple things out of empty, whether it's push the ball down the field, get the ball out quick, run the ball. We have a lot of different options that we can do. So it's been a good set for us, a little bit more than we had done in the past yesterday, but that was just the way the game unfolded and things we were doing.
Of course, this doesn't mean the Birds are going to abandon Saquon Barkley and not run as much, even though he did have kind of an average performance versus the Steelers. But even with that 65-yard performance on the ground on Sunday, Barkley has now overtaken Lamar Jackson as the lead Pro Bowl vote receiver, and also got an awesome jersey in the mail from the great Barry Sanders that reads, "I love the fact that you showed everyone how valuable you really are." I'm thinking a big game for 2-6 on Sunday versus the Commanders. Also, and this was completely lost in the news cycle on Sunday, look who was with Eagles GM Howie Roseman pregame at the Link versus the Steelers. That's recently fired Jets GM Joe Douglas, who was the Birds' vice president of player personnel from 2016 to 2019. Basically, he was the Birds' lead draft scout and a pivotal piece in helping build Howie Roseman's 2017 Super Bowl winning team. He presided over the drafting of players like Carson Wentz, Dallas Goedert, Josh Sweat, and Jordan Mailata. And while Douglas's time with the Jets didn't really work out, that doesn't mean he doesn't know how to find exceptionally good value players in the draft and free agency. There's a real chance that Howie is already laying the groundwork for Douglas to return to Philadelphia in 2025 and not only gear up for the 2025 draft, but also for the 2025 free agency period. Now, sure, this doesn't matter for right now. The Birds are focused on winning a Super Bowl, and Joe Douglas this year is not going to help, but Howie's brilliance is looking ahead, keeping the Birds relevant going forward. And Douglas's return could be a big step in that direction of snowballing a possible 2024 Super Bowl run into a juggernaut for many, many years to come. There's been no word if Douglas has gotten any sort of official offer. We'll keep an eye on it, but again, worth noting noting that nobody's talking about from Sunday. And we got plenty more stuff happening the next couple of days and weeks, including, like I said, giving away the jersey. We'll announce the winner during our Wednesday Link Live. Have to do the live, again, 2 p.m. Eastern time on Wednesday because we have some family stuff going on Wednesday night. So go ahead and join. We'll see who wins that and plenty more. I would say better giveaways than this coming forward as we approach 80,000 subs. If you haven't subbed yet, little reason why. But plenty more stuff happening the next couple of days and weeks. I'm Thomas Mott on a Tuesday. This has been the Thomas Mott Show.